Thank you for joining NMH at 1, where we highlight the news making headlines in the land of the brave and beyond, ranging from current affairs to community stories, sports and economic news. In the news today, drying dams to put Windhoek under pressure. Government officials feared the return of colleagues who wrote their names in a ball. And church coalition demonises West over homosexuality. I am Ashwin Bedi and this is NMH at 1. The Government Institutions Pension Fund has commenced the biometric verification, also known as proof of life process, for all re-enrolled pensioners, children and spousal beneficiaries. The verification is crucial for accurate and timely benefit payments. Failure to verify by the 30th of June 2023 may result in the suspension of monthly benefits. Members can visit their nearest GIPF offices for verification even without a biometric card. Remember to engage with these stories on our social media throughout the broadcast. Visual News comes up after the break.
We are so excited to be kickstarting your morning with entertainment.
Everything was happening during this past weekend.
Yes.
Exciting news.
Wow, no, she was killing it already.
In my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with him serving the full term.
As well as keeping you informed on the issues that you need to know happening in and around our country.
Now, yesterday, Dr. Shirley Magazi said the anti-gay movement is based on Article 12 of the Namibian Constitution, which protects decency and morality. She also accused the Supreme Court of having undermined the country's laws and sovereignty, seemingly to pave the way for decriminalization of the sodomy law. The group was born out of protests of the Supreme Court ruling that same-sex marriages outside Namibia should be recognized.
As a law that speaks against this is the common law of sodomy. Essentially, what our honorable judges have done is to legally or authoritatively give license to all men that are engaged in sexual relations with each other to actually embark on a criminal act, and that is the act of sodomy. Now, whether that was done intentionally to pave way for the sodomy law to be declared unconstitutional and therefore invalid, that strategy needs to backfire, because that was a direct undermining of our laws in country. Our constitution is very clear that the common law becomes part of the Namibian law according to Article, I think, 140, until such a time as it has been declared unconstitutional. That has not happened. And so that was overlooked, whether intentionally or unintentionally. That is an error. Secondly, Article 1 of our Constitution is very clear that Namibia is a sovereign nation, and it is the Constitution that is the supreme law in our nation. Having said that, as a sovereign nation, we cannot uphold other jurisdictions' constitutions. We cannot uphold other nations and countries' views and opinions and agendas. Namibia must be respected as a sovereign nation.
The Capricorn Foundation, through the African Child Development Trust, has invested 575,000 Namibian dollars into the Namibian child. The two partners recently strengthened their relationship at a private event. Capricorn, through its corporate social responsibility arm, regularly invests in education.
Hi, my name is Shanae Bueta from the African Child Development Trust. Today is a very special day as we have again renewed our partnership with Capricorn Foundation, who have donated more money towards the education project in collaboration with the African Child Development Trust. We have partnered with them for the past few years, and they have been a key member and partner in distributing books across Namibia to all 14 regions. We are very privileged and honored to have them on board with this project, as we have reached over 13 million children with them on board. We thank them humbly. Thank you.
My name is Veripura Mukwa. I'm the Capricorn Foundation Coordinator. I'm here today with the African Child Development Trust project, and we're again committing to the project. We've made a commitment of $575,000 Namibian dollars. The aim of our contribution is just to support the project with the distribution of books to the communities and the projects and schools that they support, and we have been supporting the project since last year. Education is one of our focus areas, and through this focus area we partner with like-minded organizations just to support them, and with this we're supporting education to ensure that there's development and quality education given to the schools that they support. And I'm happy to say, and just also to thank the project, that they have printed thus far over 13 million books for the schools.
Simot Namibia held a groundbreaking ceremony earlier where the company handed over the site for their new building, which will be constructed in Windhoek through the Namibia Construction, the main contractor for the project. The $115 million project is expected to be completed in a period of 16 months. Simot Namibia has 18 branches in Namibia, 4 of which are in Windhoek. The new building is said to have an economically friendly footprint and have a solar power installation on the roof. Simot Namibia this year celebrates their 75th anniversary and plans to roll out new product lines with the opening of their new branch.
Globally, there is a time of uncertainty. We are living in an era of rising interest rates. There's general economic pressure. I think if we don't say that, we are mistaken. And then post-COVID and the Ukrainian-Russia war still in progress, all doesn't create a feeling of equality. However, in this time, Simot still continues to reinvest into the local economy, and Simot shows its commitment to Namibia as a whole, even during these adverse and uncertain times. Why do we do it? Our vision statement in Simot says to be the market leader through quality, service and solutions. And I'm pretty much sure that this branch, which will be here in 1.5 years' time, will be our flagship store, and with this location will bear testimony to that market leadership through quality, service and solutions. That's something which we have stood proud of for 75 years. The Simot Namibia is celebrating 5 years of anniversary or existence, so my colleagues and I wear our 75th anniversary shirt very proudly. And then, as I said, Simot is a wholly Namibian company. We will also have a very strong green sport display in these facilities. Green sport is also our own house brand. It's our brand. It's one of the strongest Namibian owned brands, which is a truly Namibian. So together with being locally owned, I think we stand here very, very proud to officiate and hand over this site to Namibia Construction as main contractor for this site. A very small professional team, and what we have achieved since we sat together in September last year to where we are now is remarkable. So unfortunately there's nobody from the city of Windhoek, but I think we should say thank you to the city as well for playing along with us and not being stroppy with the issuing of the building permit. So without further ado, and the project, the numbers, I think the media will appreciate that most probably. It's got a building period of about 16 months. So we're looking at the opening in spring, Christmas 2024, next year spring. The total investment which the Samot Group will put into this project is about 115 million. We will have about 160 parking bays on these premises. There will be on that side where this fence stops, there will be a pedestrian link to the Grove Mall, which is very, very important for us in terms of giving the customer the shopping experience. And then we will, apart from the current range of products which Samot does do now, we will also be adding new product lines, so watch this space. And then last but not least, but equally important, is that this building will have an economically friendly footprint. So we will have solar on the roof right from the word go, and we look at how we can reduce the carbon impact which we do as a result of this project.
Praise singers are costing SWAPO, says Sankwasa. An update on this story follows in the newspaper review segment.
Good evening and welcome to Sunset News.
Actually stays in list A in his speech, rate and taxes, and how much.
After the break, we take a look at the sports.
We bring you
economic indicators, tomorrow's weather and sports. I am Aina Raiza Kweo.
The Namibian Sun's front page reports that businessman and former Works Deputy Minister James Sankwasa says SWAPO is teaming with and rewards praise singers, while those loyal to the party itself are ostracized and sidelined. In a frank assessment of the former liberation movement, he said this new culture disadvantages the party and puts it at risk in major elections because people who are loyal to SWAPO have been replaced with gossipers and praise singers. On page 3, the Grootfontein municipality yesterday resolved to appeal a High Court decision which nullified the suspension of the town's CEO, Kisco Sinvula. Sinvula, who was suspended on 24 March 2022, resumed his duties yesterday following the judgment, which found that he was not suspended procedurally. Now, Namibian Sun has seen a copy of the minutes of a special council meeting where 4 of the 7 Grootfontein councillors voted in favor of an appeal. Republican informs that a young woman from the Oshuwarongo has the opportunity to hear for the first time in her life at the age of 33 years. An amount of 500,000 Namibian dollars is, however, needed before the end of this month to make this wish possible. Chantal Kotze was born with an underdeveloped conchlear in both her ears, which caused deafness. On page 3, the Capricorn Foundation invests 575,000 Namibian dollars for the Namibian child through the African Child Development Trust. At a recent private event, the Capricorn Foundation, in partnership with the ACDT, strengthened their relationship. Algemene Zeitung today is opening with so-called church coalitions to identify gray areas in the Namibian constitution that should allow politicians to reverse the Supreme Court's legal ruling regarding same-sex marriage equality. Meanwhile, some hardliners are calling for the eradication of gays and lesbians. On page 3 of the Algemene Zeitung, the Fishrot clique accused in the corruption scandal has suffered another setback after the Supreme Court upheld the injunction that gave it the right to seize the defendants' assets and order them to pay their legal fees. We continue with the newspaper review with the Namibian after the break.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouthwatering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
The Namibian newspaper reports that one of the officials at the government garage at Ondangwa has expressed fear over the return of a workmate who allegedly wrote colleagues' names in a traditional ball known as etiti and buried along the Ongwediva-Ondangwa road early last year. On page 3, Agriculture, Water and Land Reform Minister Karl Schlattwein says NamWater is still among the most expensive water supplying utilities. He said the utilities policy is not to make water a business, and NamWater must make sure they supply water at the cheapest price to the customers. On New Era's front page, the incoming Board of Local Content Procurement Requirements creates a number of significant corruption risks. This is according to a report by Institute for Public Policy Research Director Graham Hopwood, who recently cautioned that politicians and officials can abuse their power and influence to use local content procurement requirements to benefit their associates and family members. On page 3, allowances for councillors at the Ongwediva Local Authority have remained unchanged for the 2023-24 financial year. This is because the town service tariffs have also remained unchanged. Explaining the decision, Ongwediva Mayor Tara Shalyefu, during a budget statement on the financial year, indicated the councillors' allowances were kept unchanged as increasing these were not a priority for the town. We are trying to prioritize important things, and unfortunately, there are not enough resources. And MarketWatch reports that South Africa's third monetary policy announcement for the year is expected to take place on Thursday. Year to date, the South African Reserve Bank increased the repo rate by 75 basis points. The repo rate in South Africa currently stands at 7.75%. Fin24 recently reported that asset manager and banking group Investec has warned that South Africa's interest rates are likely to remain elevated for longer than expected as a weaker rand and the risk of sanctions due to Pretoria's support for Russia add pressure on an already weak economy. Clearly, the economy in South Africa is under significant strain, given the forecast levels growth of just 0.2% for 2023, Fanny Titi said, and the recent deterioration of the rand exchange rate will not help the fight against inflation, given some of the unfortunate events around our perceived alignment as a country to Russia and the possibility that may lead to a level of sanctions. Now, Ramaphosa loses confidence in SA business over policy missteps. More on this story in Economic News.
To another exciting episode of Irongo Chobi Jullie. Is die weer en vertel ook vir julle waar die vis heel moontlik kan byt.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has lost confidence of a key constituency 5 years after ushering in a wave of business optimism that he'd revive an economy hobbled by industrial-scale corruption under his predecessor. Executives are running out of patience with the 70-year-old leader. Economic stagnation spawned by record daily power outages, rampant crime, disintegrating infrastructure and foreign policy missteps is leading investors to the exits, with the rand fast approaching a record low of 20 per dollar. The business community's growing disaffection with Ramaphosa's administration was expected to be a topic of discussion at talks between his deputy Paul Mashatile and company executives on Friday evening. The mood going into the meeting was summed up by Investor Group Chief Executive Officer Fanny Titi. Let's head into the economic indicators. The Namibian dollar trades at 19.22 next to the US dollar. 23.79 gets you 1 British pound, and 2.72 Namibian dollars gets you 1 Chinese yuan. Most stocks maintained their value, with ANIRAP on 8.99 points, whilst Namibia Asset Management stayed on 0.68 points. Local index also maintained its value on 636.09 points, whilst the overall index closed down 0.27%. Looking at commodities, gold, copper and zinc all made downturns of 0.56, 1.56 and 2.33% respectively, whilst Brent crude oil made the only uptick of 0.86%. Stay with us as we head into news from Africa, starting with Nigeria. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari commissioned an oil plant billed as Africa's largest oil refinery after years of delays and a week before stepping down from office. Built by Africa's richest person Aliko Dangote in the commercial hub of Lagos, the refinery should begin operations in June, with the first products expected on the market by August, though some analysts say it could be later. Once at full capacity, it will have the ability to process 650,000 barrels a day, according to the company. Buhari, who steps down on May 29 after 8 years in office, described the project as a notable milestone and a game changer for the downstream petroleum products market, not only in Nigeria, but for the entire African continent. The presidents of Ghana, Niger, Togo, Senegal, and a representative from the Chadian leader were present at the commissioning. The refinery is expected to meet Nigeria's domestic demand as well as serve global markets, Dangote said. Once our plant is fully commissioned, we expect that at least 40% of the capacity will be available for export, and this will result in significant foreign exchange entering the country, said Dangote. We'll be heading over to international news as Brazil has declared a 6-month animal health emergency. Now, as I just highlighted, Brazil has declared a 6-month animal health emergency after several cases of avian flu were found in wild birds. 7 cases have been reported in Espírito Santo state, with another discovered in Rio de Janeiro state. The emergency declaration makes it easier for the government to now bring in measures to stop the highly infectious H5N1 virus from spreading. Brazil is the world's largest exporter of chicken meat, with annual sales of nearly $10 billion. Authorities say the cases were found far away from Brazil's main areas of production in the south of the country. However, outbreaks in commercial flocks elsewhere have sometimes been observed to follow the discovery of avian flu cases in wild birds. The finding of a case on a farm often triggers a cull of a large number of birds and can sometimes prompt trade restrictions from other countries. The health emergency has been declared across the whole country for the next 180 days as a precaution. Now, the city of Windhoek has requested a budget of 800,000 to develop adequate seating for spectators at popular sports fields. We'll be looking at local sports shortly.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
All right, let's head into local sport. The city of Windhoek has requested a budget of 800,000 Namibian dollars to develop adequate seating for spectators at 5 popular sports fields in Windhoek's informal settlements. Siblings Mila and Miko Botha are slowly but surely establishing themselves in the Namibian National Karting Championships with solid performances. The duo once again participated in the Kid Rock and Bambino classes in the 4th round of the championship at the Tony Rust racetrack earlier this month. And the senior Namibia wrestling team arrived back in the country yesterday after taking part in the African Championships in Hammamet, Tunisia. The wrestlers proudly returned with a record 9 medals. So we'll be starting with Newcastle United after this short break as we head into international sport. Newcastle United will rejoin Europe's elite Champions League competition next season after a 20-year absence following a 0-0 draw at home to struggling Leicester City, which guaranteed a top 4 finish in the Premier League yesterday. The weather forecast for Saturday's Vodacom United Rugby Championship final in Cape Town is suddenly a lot more positive than it was. But even if it reverts to what it was a day ago, the DHL Stormers are preparing to produce a top performance regardless of the conditions. Spanish police said on Tuesday they had detained 4 people in connection with an incident in which a mannequin representing Brazilian soccer star Vinicius Jr. was hung under a bridge in January. If you're just joining us, this is NMH at 1, and we'll get into the highlights from today's broadcast after this short break.
We are so excited to be kickstarting your morning with entertainment. Everything was happening during this past weekend.
Yes.
Exciting news.
Wow, no, she was killing it already.
In my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with him serving the full term.
As well as keeping you informed on the issues that you need to know happening in and around our country.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouth-watering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
Heading into the highlights, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari commissioned an oil plant built as Africa's largest oil refinery after years of delays and a week before stepping down from office. Brazil has declared a 6-month animal health emergency after several cases of avian flu were found in wild birds. 7 cases have been reported in Espírito Santo state, with another discovered in Rio de Janeiro state. And the city of Windhoek has requested a budget of 800,000 Namibian dollars to develop adequate seating for spectators at 5 popular sports fields in Windhoek's informal settlements. Those have been your highlights. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. to spend your lunch hour with NMH at 1, catching up on the latest news in Namibia, Africa and the world, ranging from current affairs to economic news, sports and international headlines. It's goodbye from us in studio.